Hey you guys, it's Cayley. I am back with another what sold from last week video. Man, sales have been an absolute roller coaster. I'm not sure if you guys are experiencing it too, but let me know down in the comments. This has been some of the slowest sales week I have had in a really long time, not just on eBay, but also Poshmark as well. So some weeks are up, some weeks are down, but just lately I feel like I've been in kind of a sales slump. We're going to dive into some sales from a previous week, and I will also share with you some things that are selling well for me, either quickly or for a lot of money, in case you want to look for those items at your own thrift stores. Let's just dive right in. All right, you guys, so the sales I'm covering today happened between January 7th through the 13th. This was a pretty good week for me. In total, I sold 284 items for gross item sales of $8,483.97. My average sale price did drop quite a bit. It was $29.87. I have been working on clearing out some of my older inventory, so I think that that is a part of the reason for that, just dropping some of that stuff on Poshmark. And as usual on eBay, my average sale price is higher than what is on Poshmark. So on eBay, I sold 124 items with an average sale price of $37.82, which is what I like to see. And then on Poshmark, I sold 160 items, but my average sale price was only about $24. So like I said, moving out some older items on Poshmark. I believe I dropped closet clear out just a few days before this week. So I think that's the reason for the drop in average sale price, but honestly, happy to move out older inventory. Seeing a humongous shift this week in particular. I know that I'm putting this out at the beginning of February, but we're actually talking about sales at the second week of January. So keep that in mind as you are seeing these items, because during this January 7th week, I saw a dramatic shift in spring stuff starting to sell. And that is something to keep in mind for the future. Maybe mark it on your calendar. When does spring stuff start selling? For me, I marked it on my calendar as around this week. So next year, I'm going to be really hyper focused on, getting ahead, starting to list the spring stuff during this January 7th week and starting to flush out the winter stuff. So I tried to keep that in mind as I was pulling which items I would show you for this video, and I tried to focus on pulling some spring stuff that sells well for me every single year and some things you might want to look out for. So let's dive into these individual sales. Also try to pull a lot of brands that are newer to me that have been selling well. This is also something I'd consider like a spring summer item. This is the brand Alexis of Bohemia. It's a very niche kind of brand. Their stuff retails for a lot of money. I have found that the sell-through rate is not quite there for me to charge crazy amounts of money for stuff like this. So I tried to go on the lower of comps because of that. Just because, like I said, there's just not that great of a sell-through rate on this, but I've sold a couple pieces now by them, and that strategy is working. This one was called the Winnie shirt. I was able to find the style name by doing a Google Lens. I listed it for $150. It did sell for my full asking price, and it actually sold the exact same day I listed it. So a little bit better of a style than some of the other stuff I've sold, but in general, again, I would say this brand does not sell quickly for me, with exception to this top right here. All right, next up, this is something I have been sitting on since April 15th of last year. However, I did still think it was a great pickup. I just probably priced it a little too high in the beginning because I wasn't sure where to price it. These are by the brand Oakley, which I'm sure you guys know, but they're an older style. I don't know when they were made, but I do know that they're older. Field Gear Ortholite boots, and these came out on a rolling cart of new shoes, and I was like, I don't know, there's just something about them, let me look them up. Very good quality, very heavy duty kind of hiking looking shoes. Did a Google Lens on them and found out that this style in Oakley is incredible. I think I originally listed them for $200 or best offer, because that's what I do when I don't know where to price something. Stuff was going for crazy amounts of money in comps at the time I looked it up. I have since dropped the price because obviously I've been sitting on it a little too long, and still continue to accept best offer. and someone finally sent an offer for $138, or maybe I sent out offers to watchers. Either way, on an offer of $138, these sold, and I originally paid $12.99 for them. I would still pick these up. I would just probably price them a little bit lower, but yeah, who knew? Oakley shoes, keep your eyes out for those. All right, next up, one of my absolute favorite brands to sell, incredible sell-through rate and incredible prices for pre-owned items. This is Frank and Eileen. If you guys don't know about this brand, definitely want to look it up. They sell a lot of stuff, but I feel like their core item is their tops. They're like button downs or popover like this. So this is called the Patrick Popover Henley. And yeah, the style number's here, or sometimes it even says it. I always look up the style of these because that makes a big difference. Let's see. I listed this for $115. It sold within 2 days of listing, if that tells you how high the sell-through rate is. So you guys definitely want to be on the lookout for anything Frank and Eileen. I sell a ton of their stuff. Their dresses go for closer to $200 pre-owned, so absolutely keep your eye out for that. This is a brand that is not spring-ish, but one I thought I would bring up is the North Face, and this used to be a huge bolo brand. Everyone used to pick it up in just about anything. These days I find like it's pretty oversaturated and you have to look for really key pieces. Some tips I thought I would give you, and I've given them before, but the men's larger size stuff does a little bit better. And then anything that has like an indication of a series, you can see that this one had Summit series on the arm. Sometimes it'll say things like Wind Wall and stuff like that. If you guys see that, it's definitely doing the comp with whatever it says. So this Summit series helped to add some value, and it was a 3XL, which again, larger sizes do better. I paid $12 for this, listed it for $75. It did sell for my full asking price, and it took about a month to sell. All right, next up, this is a newer brand to me. It is Orsow. Key thing with this brand is that it's made in Japan. If you guys see any Japanese denim or made in Japan items, I would definitely look into it because it seems to be a key factor that ups the value for a lot of things. So these are a pair of men's fatigue pants, and I listed them for $85. They sold pretty quickly, not pretty quickly, the next day, very quickly, on an offer to watcher for $72. So again, anything Japan made, Japanese denim, anything that indicates it was made in Japan, absolutely look those up because it makes a big difference. All right, next up is a fabric that I have been coming into quite a bit and selling a lot of. It is lamb leather. I haven't sold lamb leather in a while, and just like all of a sudden we're selling it, so I thought I would mention it to you guys. This is the brand J brand. And these are a pair of lamb leather, like pull-on pants or leggings. Key difference is obviously leather adds value, but lamb leather is a specific kind of leather that is more sought after. It's very soft. It's very supple. And so if you see anything that says lamb leather, I would definitely look it up and include the word lamb in your comps. So lamb leather pants, I listed these for $80. They sold for an offer to watcher of $68. Let's see, how long did these take to sell? These took only about a week to sell. That's awesome. All right, next up, I've mentioned this brand quite a bit, but I just have to mention it again because it just sells so fast, and I feel like it's one that people will pass on if they didn't know, because it's just kind of like lounge wear. It doesn't look necessarily all that special. Most of the time it looks like there's a lot of wash wear and pilling, but it's just kind of how they're made. It is the brand Aviator Nation. I would personally pick up anything in this brand. We've even sold kids for quite a bit. So these are the women's Malibu sweatpants. We listed them for $80. They sold on an offer to watcher for $68. Crazy. All right, another new to me brand. This is the brand Post Alls. I don't know much about this, but it is made in the USA, and from what I could tell had really great comps. This is just a men's button-up shirt. I think it's a vintage brand, so definitely one to keep your eye out for. But I mean, come on, if you saw that tag, wouldn't you look it up? It looks you know, it looks different. Anyways, great sell through on this, very high comps on this. I listed this for $75. It sold within a week for an offer to watcher of $64. Here's another vintage item. The brand is Mike and Todd, and this category did actually perform really well in this brand. However, I just thought it was worth mentioning, I guess, the factors involved, because this is a factor stacking piece for me. And something that you might want to look for in spring and summer are longer length silk skirts, meaning midi to maxi length. You know, the factor stacking here is the length of the skirt and also the materials. So if I see any kind of, I guess, double sellable factors like that, I look it up regardless of brand. This would be one of those pieces that performed really well. And like I said, this brand actually was kind of known for that. You could tell in the comps. I listed this skirt for $60. It sold for my full asking price. And this took a couple of weeks to sell. Next up, I've mentioned this before, this is the brand Spanx. Pretty decent brand all around, but this particular style of pant is called the Perfect Pant, and people are going crazy for it. I've sold this so many times. This one is a size large, pull-on, straight leg. I listed it for $50. It sold for my full asking price, and this one did take a month to sell. However, I've also had some that sell the same day, so very, very good comps on this. The thing you need to know is if you get Spanx, I would definitely look up the style number, because if not, and you just look up Spanx pull-on pants, you're not going to get the right comps, and you're probably going to list too low. So it's really good. This is a brand I would definitely recommend looking up the style name for and doing your comps with that and the size, because it can make a big difference. All right, next up, you guys know I love this brand. It's Flint Tender. I've told you guys before I would pick up anything in this brand. It's sold on the Huckberry website. However, I'm bringing this to you today because I did not know that they make women's stuff now. We listed this as a men's, and I was like, this just, I don't know, it looks so small. And Skylar, one of our new hires, actually looked up the style number and realized that they were women's, and then, you know, obviously told me that they make women's, and I was like, are you sure? It's true. So I thought I would mention this to you guys just in case you're someone like me that loves this brand. Just make sure that you double check the style numbers to, or, you know, do a Google Lens to make sure that you're listing it properly, because we almost didn't. So these are a pair of women's Flint Tender corduroy pants. Good comps on this, honestly. I listed it for $50. It sold for full asking price, and it only took 3 days to sell. All right, next up, not really anything special, but this is the brand UGG, which is really popular right now. However, I do see this kind of trending out as we move into warmer weather, obviously. But UGG is just really, really trendy this year. Even their older styles, like this one, this is the Bailey Bow boot, even with a little bit of wear, sold for good money. So I listed this for $45. It did sell for my full asking price. It did take a couple of months to sell, but for pre-owned Uggs and the condition, I feel like that's great. So I'm still keeping my eye out for it, with the anticipation that it'll probably die down over the next month. Next up is a newer brand to me. It is Ostroy. If you guys see this, I would definitely recommend looking it up. Some of their prints are kind of rare, so I always Google Lens this brand now, but I've sold a couple of their pieces and they have performed extremely well. This is a men's button-down shirt. It was called the Resort shirt in a size XL. This one sold the same day I listed it, so really great comps on that, and I think, again, it helped to have the style name in there. I listed it for $50. It sold for my full asking price. All right, this was an interesting piece. This one did not have a brand label. However, there was just enough information on it that it was worth getting. You guys know I love picking up these chunky, thick knit fisherman sweaters. This one had the like leather buttons, which is a good indication of vintage sometimes, usually. Very great condition, and it did say that it was made in Ireland. You guys know Irish knits usually perform well, again, especially when they are thick knit. and all over cable knit. So for all of those reasons, we decided to still get this. We listed it for $50 and it did sell for our full asking price, even being completely unbranded. We paid $5, sold it for $50. Let's see, this took a week to sell. And it sold on offer to watcher for $42. And you guys can kind of see some of the keywords we use to list this. And I really think that these keywords are what helped us sell it so quickly, because selling an unbranded item is not easy sometimes. Next up is a newer brand to me. It is Sid Mashburn. Don't find a lot of this. This sold pretty quickly as well. Actually, it sold the same day we listed it. This is a thicker, like button-down shirt, cotton wool blend. We listed it for $40, which was the going rate, and it sold for full asking price the same day. I'm going to keep my eye out for other stuff in this brand in the men's department, but obviously I know that these thick shirts do well. All right, next up, we are moving into dress season. I've been selling a ton of them over the past few weeks. This is one of my favorite dress brands to find, so I thought I would share it with you. Again, focusing on that longer length makes a big difference, and also their larger sizes. So this is a 16-18, which makes a big difference in comps, and I just thought I would share that with you guys. Obviously prints and stuff can do really well, but even plain stuff like this, if you've got another factor, can up the value as well. So for this, it was that it was midi length and it was a larger size, but Bowden in general is a pretty decent dress brand, again with caution, the longer length and the larger sizes. This one I listed for $45. It was called the Cassidy Jersey dress. This one took only 5 days to sell, and it sold on an offer to watcher for $38. But this will be a brand I'll be looking for spring. Next up is more of a wintry brand, but I just thought it's just such a great find that I think is overlooked a lot. It is Unbound Marino. This one I believe is also sold on the Huckberry site, I believe. And this is just a merino wool t-shirt. $40, guys, all day long, which is crazy, being a women's t-shirt, but I mean, this just isn't something I think people would find in the t-shirt section, and so something to definitely keep your eye out for, because I do again think that it's overlooked. People like wearing these for like layers, hiking, outdoorsy stuff, things like that, while it's still lightweight, which I think is great. This one sold within 4 days of being listed for my full asking price of $40. All right, next up, I thought I would share this one because this, I guess, style aesthetic seems to be pretty popular. It was last year, and I think it will be again this year, but it's like one-piece athletic wear stuff, whether it's a romper or it's a jumpsuit or maybe sets, but this seems to be what everybody's wearing. This is a girlfriend collective. It was called the Bike Unitard, size extra small, but it was new with tags. We listed it for $45. It sold on an offer to watcher for $38. This did take several months to sell, but we did list it back in October, and I think it's just now selling because it's starting to get warm in some places. All right, next up, another spring item I would look for. I love selling Eileen Fisher, you know, all year round, but in spring and summer it's great because Eileen Fisher, some people have a hard time selling it. What I can tell you is that size makes a big difference, and also material makes a big difference, and because of that, you want to have both of those things in your title, and you also want to use both of those things when you do your comps to ensure that it's going to sell quickly. So this is a women's organic linen shirt dress in a size large. I usually like to have plus sizes in this brand, so a large is like just on the cusp of being a larger size, but it was organic linen and it's a dress, which is a substantial piece. So you have to do some factor stocking with Eileen Fisher. You can't just pick up a plain size small black tank top. You know what I mean? But in spring and summer, their linen pieces perform extremely well. Even in smaller sizes, if there's something else there, it sells well. So this stuff's already selling for me. I thought I would mention it. I listed this back in November, which obviously isn't when people are wearing linen dresses, and it just sold on January 11th for my full asking price of $38. So if you're having a hard time with Eileen Fisher, again, size makes a huge difference and materials make a tremendous difference. All right, next up is a brand that I do like selling. I pick up pretty much every time I find it. It is Spencer Alexis. They make these like kimono jackets. They're really wacky and weird. The larger sizes perform the best, although I have sold their smaller stuff as well. And depending on the condition and the size, I can list for higher. This one I listed for $35. It sold for my full asking price the very next day. So pretty cool. It was missing a little gem on the clasp here. Otherwise, we would have probably listed it a little bit higher. All right, this is the brand Diesel, which is a pretty decent men's brand to look for. I like looking for their jeans in the men's department. Very rarely do I find anything else, but this was a t-shirt by them, and I don't know what to say other than I just had that gut feeling that this was going to sell for quite a bit. Had a lot going for it, good substantial brand. It was kind of a burnout feel, and it had this really cool graphic on the front. So for all of those reasons, I listed it higher, kind of had to make up a price. I listed it at $40. Had a lot of interest on this shirt on both platforms. It ended up selling on an offer to watcher for $34, which I feel like is fantastic for a pre-owned t-shirt. This took 3 weeks to sell. Next up, this is Ann Taylor. I almost never get this brand, especially in an extra small petite, which is not a size I would get in most things. However, I've mentioned this before, but cashmere or cashmere blend like knit pants in any brand, literally any brand, cashmere or cashmere blend or even merino wool knit pants all day long. I've always been able to sell them. I made up a price for this as well, listed it for $40. It sold on an offer to watcher for $34. Again, that being that small of a size, it's crazy. And these did take a month to sell. All right, next up, this is LL Bean. This is a brand I like getting in larger sizes. I talk about plus size tops a lot and how there are some brands that you don't normally get in women's tops because they're not substantial enough, but it being a plus size increases the value and increases the sell-through rate as well. I feel like LL Bean can be one of those items. It really depends on the piece. But I will tell you that women's denim button-up shirts and even men's denim button-up shirts are just popular all year round. Like people wear these in winter. They wear them in spring. I feel like these are great transitional pieces. So be on the lookout for that. Denim button-up shirts, particularly if you can pair them with a plus size, is going to make a big difference. So LL Bean Women's 3X denim shirt, I listed it for $30. It sold on an offer to watcher for $25. And this took 3 weeks to sell. Next up, another brand that performs well in plus size tops for me, it is Lauren Ralph Lauren. This is a 2X sweatshirt. Not much to say about this. I listed for $30. It sold for my full asking price, and it sold within 2 weeks. Next up, this is definitely something I'd keep your eye out for spring. It is the brand Toaden Co. Particularly their wide leg pants. If you get the specific one, and I don't think I do not, but on the back of this tag, there's another little label that says the style name, and they're called the Chaka pants. If you see that you have the Chaka style, definitely put that in your title. It increases the value quite a bit. We listed these for $35. I actually think I could have priced this up a little bit, but it sold for what it sold for. We sold it for $30 on an offer to watcher, and this sold within 2 days of being listed. Next week, I think you'll see another one that sold for more, but the specific style of wide leg Chaka pants by this brand perform extremely well. And just in general, this brand Toaden Co has some key pieces that do really well in spring, so keep your eye out for that. All right, this was a style, aesthetic, and factor stacking piece. It is by the brand Oscar de la Renta. This wasn't anything like super special. It was new with tags. You can see it only retailed for $64. Little like slip dress nightgowny thing. But the main reason we got this, besides it being new with tags, is because, and I don't even know how to pronounce this, maybe you guys can help me in the comments, coquette, coquet. But this word right here, I would look up this on Google and check out the style aesthetic, because this is a new one that people are going nuts for, and this really fell in that category, so we included it in our title, and it sold super quickly. Sold within 2 days of being listed. We listed it for $35. It sold on an offer to watcher for $30. So I would definitely keep your eye out for that, and if you find something that really truly fits the aesthetic, put that in your title. Here's another plus size, a brand that does well in plus size, has a really good sell-through rate. It's Cooko Woman. I passed on this for a long time until I did a comp one day on a plus size item, and I was like, holy cow, the sell-through rate is really good on this. So keep your eye out for this. Doesn't sell for much, but it sells quickly. Listed this for $25. It sold for full asking price. All right, next up, this is the brand Acis Punto, which kind of hit or miss on whether it sells quickly or not. But the one thing I wanted to share with you is that there are certain greens, and not just greens, other colors as well, but there are certain colors that are trending also, and I knew that there were some greens that were very, very trendy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you have a specific shade that seems like kind of out of the norm, maybe consider putting that color into your title. Not something I normally recommend. Like, I wouldn't say if you have a dark purple item that you put eggplant in the title. But if it is a trending purple and everyone's talking about it, consider doing that, because we have to capture our audience. So in this case, this was called Kelly Green. I put that in the title. I do think it helped it to sell quickly. It sold the very next day for an offer to watcher of $30. I would have listed these higher, but they did have a slight flaw to them. But again, I really think that Kelly Green in the title helped us sell these very quickly. All right, this next one is a definite spring item brand I would keep your eye out for. It is cool. And just in general, like hiking stuff is going to start selling very quickly. These are a pair of women's hiking pants. They sold for a full asking price of $25. They had some flaws. Otherwise, I probably would have listed them closer to $30 to $35. But these did sell for full asking price. All right, last one on eBay before hopping onto Poshmark. This is another brand that performs well in plus sizes. It is Quaker Factory. Probably the first time I've said that correctly. Quaker Factory. Their plus size pieces have pretty good sell-through rates. Obviously you want to try to have something, don't just get a plain t-shirt, but something. This one had like some starfish embroidery and things like that. Listed it for $25. It sold on an offer to watcher for $21, which I know isn't much, but they're quick flips. And yeah, $20 to $25, pretty easy to find. All right, next up are the Poshmark sales. This is a brand that performed really well for me last year in spring and summer. It's kind of a login looking brand. It's called Habitat. I can't for sure say that it's going to perform well again during this year, but it's a good sign that this sold for $27 in winter. So I'm going to keep my eye out for this brand, particularly in linens and or larger sizes. You can see it's made in Peru. That's probably why people like it, but a brand to keep your eye on. All right, next up, I haven't sold these in a while, so I thought I would share it. Salvatore Ferragamo shoes. Pretty much anything Salvatore Ferragamo can do well. These are a pair of men's loafers, and if you didn't know to look for them, I would definitely look for them. They are a bolo. They sold for $102, and these were like vintage and had some overall wear, but people are looking for those. All right, this is a Lululemon item. It was called the Align tank top. So what I wanted to share with you about this sale is I came into quite a bit of these, like a batch of these. Someone must have donated their like collection of these tank tops because they had them in like a lot of colors, all pre-owned in the same size. But when I did comps on eBay, the sell-through rate was not there. However, I know that there are certain brands on Poshmark that perform better. And so I still got it anyways, and they've been selling really well on Poshmark, and that's just something you kind of learn over time. But there are some brands that we still get, or certain pieces that still sell well on Poshmark. So I just thought I would share that sale with you because they do not comp well on eBay. And I'm selling them all for like $25 to $35. So this one sold for $29 on Poshmark. If I listed this on eBay, which we did just to see if they would sell, and I wanted to sell it quickly based on the comps, I probably would have to list these for $20 on eBay to get them to move. But on Poshmark, they're selling for close to full price, which is really cool. So again, not much to say here, but just consider if you're on multiple platforms, maybe try to pay attention to what sells well on which platform. Next up is the brand Bila. This is more bread and butter, but their larger stuff sells really well, has a good sell-through rate in tops, so I like sharing it when stuff does sell. This is a size XL boho top. It sold for $22. This I would also consider that like coquette style aesthetic, but we didn't end up this was listed before we learned about it, but this I think would fall in that category as well. It is the brand Love Shack Fancy. Really great bolo brand to look out for, especially in dresses. This is a size large. I don't know what we originally listed it for, probably $125, but it sold for $99. So really great comps on this brand. Again, a brand that sells well, really well on Poshmark, so keep your eye out for it. I feel like, I don't know, if you're not looking for this style, it might be easy to pass over, so I always like sharing it. All right, this is a newer brand to me. Again, made in Japan. This is the brand Capital. Really amazing comps on this one. This was like a smiley face sweatshirt. My lister actually took the cover photo with the smiley faces not showing, and I made her retake it because that's what's going to sell the item. So I thought I would share that with you guys, this cover photo. It sold, I want to say literally like the next day, for an offer of $97. So absolutely keep your eye out for this brand. And again, stuff made in Japan seems to be a trending factor. Right, this is kind of a Y2K item, which is, in my opinion, still trending. I don't know how long that's going to go for, but it is trending. This is a 3X Juicy Couture velour like track jacket, hoodie, sweatshirt. You can sell them for a lot more if they've got like a spell out or an embroidery, but this one is pretty plain, but it was plus size, so that helped to increase the value. This sold for $49, so keep your eye out for the Juicy Couture velour pants and jackets. This is a men's brand that performs pretty well. They make a lot of like thick basics. Usually their t-shirts are like $20 to $25 pre-owned, but this is a hoodie, size extra large, nice brown color, sold for $35. Not much to say. Good like core brand in the men's department. This is a pair of Torage shoes. This is a style aesthetic that is still trending really well right now, the chunky platform shoes. So anytime I see something like that, even if it's a brand I don't normally get in shoes, I always look it up. These are a pair of women's chunky platform loafers. They were a size 12, which is pretty big for women's. And I think it actually helped to sell the shoes because larger sizes are hard to find. These sold for $35 on Poshmark, which is pretty good for Torrid pre-owned shoes. This is a Brawl. I haven't talked about Brawls in a while, but I just wanted to say that there are still some Brawl brands and Brawl styles and sizes, factors that you can still make pretty good money on bras, especially if you can find them for like $1 or 50 cents, at the bins based on weight. This would be one of those pieces. It is the incredible knockout bra in a larger size. It sold for $20. Next up is a denim brand in the women's department. I kind of hate going to the women's denim section anymore because there's just not a lot of brands you can pick up these days that make good money, but this is one of those brands. I don't find it often, but it is the brand Mother, and these are a pair of denim shorts that sold for $60. Holy cow. So definitely want to keep your eye out for this in jeans and the denim shorts, but it's still one of the few brands that sells well in the women's department. right, this is a newer brand to me. This is the brand Malbon. I think this is their logo. It is a men's polo shirt. I don't know much about this brand, I'm going to be honest with you, other than it has some pretty good sell-through rate, and I'm going to keep my eye out for their polos. It sold for $40. Next up is a handbag brand. I did sell a couple handbags this week. This is Radley London. See if I can find, there it is. This is a really great handbag brand to find. You obviously want to make sure you have one that is real and not fake, but this one was real. Really great comps on this one. It did have a couple of marks on it. It sold for $72, and I found that everything I've ever listed in this brand has sold pretty quickly. Next up, this is not a brand I would look for, but rather a style, which are wide leg linen pants. Anything log and looky like this is performing really well. These ones sold for $34. Next up is the brand Sorel. This is more of a winter item, but I thought I would mention these because this is why it's really important sometimes to look up the style name of stuff. These might be the most expensive shoes I've ever sold, possibly. I don't know. I can't remember. It's one of them for sure. These Sorel boots sold for $225, which if I just did comps on Sorel boots, this is not the price I would get while doing comps. I had to look up the exact style name and figure out what that exact style and that size was going for, and that's how I learned they were going for a lot and was able to price higher and get all my money's worth. But I thought I would mention it. If you guys see anything like this, definitely want to look that up. $225. Here's another one of those Lululemon Women's Align tank tops. This sold for $29. Here's another women's denim brand, depending on style and size. That is the key, dependent on style and size. That can do well in the women's denim department. It is Good American. These are a pair of flare jeans in a size 28. They sold for $51. Here's another handbag brand that has a pretty decent sell-through rate and retails for a lot is Hammett Los Angeles. I actually just saw this new in a boutique the other day when I was hanging out with my mom and my sister. I was like, oh, I think we just sold one of those. This is a very high quality leather bag company. This is a really nice handbag. There were a couple of marks, but overall pretty decent, and it sold for $77. I feel like that's an overlooked handbag brand, Hammett. Here's another pair of Good American. These are skinny jeans, which I can tell you typically do not perform well. However, these were a larger size and a size 16, so that's why we got them, and they sold for $37 on Poshmark. And again, I feel like Good American is a brand that performs better on Poshmark. And lastly is the brand Copi, which I have been experimenting with lately, and it's actually been performing well for me, again, particularly on Poshmark in larger sizes. This is a size large, kind of spring-ish sleeveless button-up shirt. It sold for $27.
All right, guys, so that's it for what sold last week. I hope that you guys enjoyed watching. If you're not already and you would like to be, don't forget to subscribe down below, hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified every single time these videos go live. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.